Hello, my name is Matt Offord. I'm a senior lecturer in leadership and management education at the Adam Smith Business School. I want to talk to you today about how I've been using ecopedagogy, which is an eco-awareness movement from environmental education, and using it in management education in order to bridge the relevance gap between theory and practice in management education. And obviously, my whole point of making this presentation today for this conference is that it fits the conference theme about bridging the gap between theory and practice, but also because I think that many other subjects will find resonance here in trying to bridge this gap, but also that ecopedagogy can also inform those other disciplines as well as just business education in this case. So in order to do that, we're going to talk about practical ecopedagogy. So I'm not going to spend long talking about ecopedagogy as a philosophy. And then I'm going to briefly outline my 5-year longitudinal study. And then I'm going to share with you some initial results because it's a 5-year study and I only have 1 year of data. And this is going to build and build. So at the moment, I have enough data to basically explain the student experience to you, which I think will be of interest, and also to show the impact this has and probably just how straightforward it is to build ecopedagogy into your own practice. And I want to discuss as well the practicalities of using ecopedagogy and something that I've discovered, which is that it might not be as hard as you think or as expensive as you think. So this is the definition of ecopedagogy. I'm not going to spend long on this, but we just need to be aware that it is a very serious educational philosophy from Paulo Freire in the first place, and it is linked to social and environmental justice. And this quote from Greg Maziachek in 2024. So for me, as a business educator, I think this has particular relevance to business students who are going to go out into the world of work and have an impact on their society and the world. And I'm sure that you can find similar parallels in your own subject. I'm going to focus on the practical aspects, and for that I'm using Ecopedagogies, a fantastic book that was published by Bayer and Bird Finley in 2023. Here is an example of one of the ecopedagogical events that we have on our course. So we have 10 weeks on a 4th year undergraduate honours course that I'm going to be focusing here. I also teach 300 level 1 undergraduates as well, and I use campus field trips there. I've done some ecopedagogy for professional education, working with a maritime industrial partner. So I'm using this. I also use it in risk instruction, risk education as well. So I've used it in a number of instances, but here I'm just going to focus on this one course, which is called Futures in Leadership. These are 4th year undergraduates. They leave us and then they go off into the world of work. They have a big excursion towards the end of the course where they go to either Loch Lomond last year, or this year they went to House for an Art Lover. But they also do lots of these campus field trips. So they build up about 5 hours of outdoor learning over a 10-week course. This is based on Dear Data, which is a book by Lupi and Posavec, 2016. Beautiful book. Basically, these two information designers sent postcards to each other across the Atlantic with hand-drawn visualizations of data they'd encountered. So I send my students out to the Byres Road in Glasgow, where they encounter data and they have to visualize it hand-drawn on a postcard, bring it back to the classroom, and there we discuss the ESG, environmental sustainability and governance impacts of those data and what it means to be a leader working around those data. So for the study, it's a longitudinal study. I'm 1 year in, and so far I've collected one survey from my first cohort of students who are now in the world of work, and one focus group with students who are actually on course right now. So I only have some bare statistics to show you, data to show you at the moment. But over the 5-year period, we're going to build this into a big data set and do some grounded theory on this. But just to give you some insights as to the student experience at this stage, again, not to try and change the world of education with these data because it's far too early for that, but just to maybe give some insights into what these data are telling us. So in year 1, students went to Loch Lomond. We had some fantastic facilitators. It's not surprising that the excursion was really memorable for them. I was just experimenting with campus field trips. I think they did 1 or maybe 2 campus field trips last year, but they seem to have had a disproportionate impact, which is really interesting. This year we did 10 campus field trips, 5 hours of outdoor learning, plus we did the excursion. So it'll be really interesting to see what the students think of it this next year coming. The impact 1 year on is very high. That's not surprising. What's going to be interesting is how quickly that falls off. The main thing I want to focus on is the themes. I've got 4 themes, and this is all offered by the students during the focus groups or in the free text box of the survey. So these questions, these answers are not solicited. These are all just what the students feel is important, and learning by doing, and we're talking about the theory practice relevance gap here. This came out as one of the top themes by all. I could actually pack this slide with quotes from students talking about experiential learning. I just chose these to kind of give a flavour of it. It really resonated with them that they were doing something different and that they were doing something practical. We also got a lot of resonance with teamworking. That again is not surprising because this is a course about teamwork and about leadership. But an observation I would make is that they very much, you can see from these quotes, they very much enjoyed that teamwork. That is slightly different to some of the other group work that I do in an indoor environment where there is inevitably some friction, some policing that is required. And we didn't really get that over the last 2 years anyway. The students have to journal right the way through the course. They keep journals, and those journals are then used in their assessments. So it's authentic assessment, and we have journaling right the way through the 10 weeks. And this has obviously had an impact, again, because these are unsolicited comments, and again, I could add more, but pretty much all of the students in the focus group and also in the survey had something to say about the fact that they were able to reflect on their experiences, and that became part of the course. One thing that only happened in the focus group, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens with this, is the idea of well-being. We didn't get that with the first group, we got it with the second group, so it would be interesting to see where that goes. So the big takeaway for me is, having spent a lot of money on field trips and big excursions, and also dealing with the logistic headaches around getting students around the country and so on, it is really interesting to see the potential for those smaller, constructively aligned campus field trips to have the same level of impact. I think going forward, I will keep the 1-day excursion, but perhaps detune that, make that more accessible to the students and also to our budget, I think. But those campus field trips can work. And incidentally, on my level 1 undergraduate course where I have 300 students, there is no possibility of doing a big excursion, and we do the whole thing by campus field trips. We'll have to wait and see how long the impact of these courses last, whether this approach is going to create a sort of memorable experience for students once they're in the world of work. And also, we know we've got engagement, but we don't yet know whether we have learning. It's great to see the impact of, say, teamwork as a graduate attribute. It's great to see that we probably will be able to bring the cost right down, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with well-being. Just a final thing to say, scholarship of teaching and learning, I have found out, is a great thing to do. It's a really positive thing. I just had an idea about ecopedagogy. I read about it. I wanted to incorporate it. And so far it's taken me from medieval castles in Dumfries to the Troodos Mountains in Cyprus. We've been shortlisted for awards, featured in newspapers, and all just because I wanted to give it a go and kind of share my experiences with people. And it really has opened a lot of doors for me. So with that, I'll say goodbye and look forward to talking about this more.